Well, so far I've painted a few sheds on video, and there seems to be an endless demand for these little things. So I'm going to paint another one. Now this is going to be simple. This is only an 8 by 10 canvas, I think. Yeah. And we're going to have this shed, my plan is anyway, to have it in even a worse state of repair than the ones you've seen me do so far. This one has pretty much begun its journey to be reunited with the ground. So, let's just establish something here. As always, this shed's got to sit on something. I think we'll make that something, we'll have it sit right about there. There's our ground. You know, with these old sheds, they eventually, really a lot of the time, they cave in from the center of the shack and fold inward a little bit. You know, there's support on the end walls and on the side walls, but in the middle, and that's often where, you know, you'll find a door or an entry. That's a weak point. So these sheds might kind of just drop down like that. How about if we do something just to establish a line? All right, I'll keep my little rag of charcoal be gone handy, because I know that I'm going to be moving that around, or I'm going to be using that. Okay, I want one end down quite a bit further than the other. And when that happens, our walls go out. Well, that's just our roof, but our walls do the same thing. They just kind of break up there. And that is still the doorway. No, don't like where that's going. Let's begin up here. There. I think the way I had it to start with there, the shed is so close to the ground it would be a pile of rubble. And you're always going to have some of the wall bits hanging on, right? So let's say that when it split, we had a bit of a board still wanting to stay together with the roof. We'll keep our opening fairly central. It won't look too central because of the shape the shed is in. Central but not center. And of course these guys, let's just consider there to be a piece missing from the overhang there. Another little bit of character, hopefully. Okay. Now we'll put in a more of a distant horizon. And that's going to be muted. You know, it's going to be so unimportant what's around here. I might just indicate a bit of a bank of trees in behind it. Or some greenery of some sort. Okay, this will have a little bit of grass going up around it. Yeah, I don't mind the idea of having some trees. Okay, don't worry too much about that. A path in front? No. No more elements, just the shed. Just a line in front. Something that'll work. Okay. Maybe that's it. Now because we're close up, we're looking pretty close at this shed, I'm going to need to indicate a few boards. Okay, so I think we're going to make our boards vertical on this one. Oh, and why should they all be there? Well, there should be a missing board. Sorry, that's not good like that. Maybe that's a void. Maybe that's a board that used to be there and isn't there anymore. All right, and our roof. Well, yeah, I'm not going to paint all the individual boards. I would just like to give some kind of an indication that these boards have been there. Or are there. Our remnants of boards are still there. Okay, we'll have our light coming from the upper left again. Well, again. Yeah, I think the last one I did the same thing. Now that's looking a little bit messy. So how about if I just grab my brush, which is, you know, I know it's fairly large for what I'm doing, but oh, you know what? I will get a smaller one. Excuse me for a moment here. This is smaller, but the hairs are a little bit splayed, so that might even be, I think I can do a better line, some finer lines with this. No, I'll use the small one. This one has begun to wear a little bit, which is fine. But I want to use this one. This will be the brush that I use for the bulk of the painting. So we'll just continue with a small one. Okay. Now to put in some lines, some important things. We'll what is this? Raw umber and ultramarine blue. Just mixing a little pile here so that I don't have to keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. All right, I kind of like this, the way this sits. Maybe I'll just put a hole in. Maybe I'll just put a hole in right there. That might stay, might not. So I'm going to close it to begin with. I'm going to close it right away. And I can open it up later if I want to. But I have that little reminder if I want it. Okay. I can't tell you why, really, specifically, but I so often like to have these little overextensions at the very top of a roof. I find it visually appealing. Yeah, this is a bit of a rough brush for what I'm doing. Okay, I'll keep that board just kind of that might go eventually, that might just completely go. I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of cartoonish in nature, which is fine. It'll provide a bit of a sort of a jaunty feel. Okay, what have we here? Yeah. We'll just blacken that right away. We know that's the door. And we'll decide, again, I think I mentioned yesterday or during the finishing of the last painting, I'll put in a lot of lines and I'll remove them or paint over them as I deem necessary as the painting progresses. Okay, yeah. We'll provide the option of a completely missing board there. Because that's what happens. Okay, I'll stick our background line in there as well for the moment. Okay. All right. Now I would like to get rid of these colors in the background. Well, get rid of the tint. Sorry. And I think we'll not going to want to draw much attention to the background, so we'll a little yellow ochre, a little ultramarine blue, a little cobalt blue. That'll serve as a sort of nondescript background for us. Some hint of trees, bush, whatever. I mean, you get to use the imagination of the viewer as a tool in your own painting. Oops, better jump there. Yeah, with Impressionism, you can do all kinds of things as long as you bring the subject matter to a close enough likeness of what something actually is. Then the viewer's imagination will take over, and it'll vary between people who see the painting. Some will think an object is this. Others will think an object is that. That's okay. That's their own. That's their own little journey through through the viewing of whatever you've painted. And you don't want to get too hung up on reporting exactly what's there. We're not copying reality. That's a trap I fall into all the time. Oh, that's not quite right. Not quite how I want it, I say to myself. And then, before you know it, I can have an area that looks so overworked that it's lost its appeal. Okay. Guess I may as well put some variety of value in there. Otherwise it's just a blank green backboard. Okay, now we'll I'm just going to put a little raw umber in with that, because raw umber is relatively neutral. We'll go with raw umber and a hint of cobalt, which really is, as you can see, pretty similar to the color that's already on there. It's okay, I don't want it too different. I want, as I said, things to be muted behind this cabin, because this little painting is very directly all about the cabin, or the shed, I suppose. I guess a cabin indicates that there might be at some point somebody has lived in it, and that's not really the intention of the building. Okay, so I'll just give my brush a little wipe here. I'm not cleaning it thoroughly. And let's see. No, maybe just that one slash, maybe that'll do it. Maybe that'll do it. Alright. Now I'm going to switch to the larger but more square-shouldered, more accurate brush. We'll load this brush with what have I got here? Oh, just straight raw umber and a bit of white. Oops, and a bit of debris by the looks of things. We'll just get rid of that. You know, keeping it dark. I'm rubbing that out. I don't want that little hatch there anymore. Okay. You know, there's sometimes sometimes I'm watching a painting and I think to myself, boy, I kind of wish I could just consider it to be done, because sometimes the wash-in is nice and loose and has some movement to it, and I really like it. But you still, you know, regarding workmanship, you still kind of have to paint over it. And still try to maintain that look. That's not the case with this one. This is going to be just simply kind of muddy looking until I lay in the brighter colors. Okay, while I have my brush loaded with raw umber, I think I'm going to put a little bit of yellow ochre in there. Add that to the pile. That way I can wash in another area without being concerned about, well, without having to clean my brush. Cleaning your brush is actually pretty hard on it. There's a lot of wear and tear involved. You know, when you clean it thoroughly anyway. Bristles always break. So if I can organize my method of painting to avoid it, I'll do that. And yes, you can have several brushes at the ready. A brush for light and a brush for dark, or a bigger brush and a smaller brush, or all four of those, you know, or brushes for different colors. It's all fine, each to his own. Okay, we're going to go back to raw umber. Throw that into the pile, thinning out that yellow ochre. I'm actually going to add a little bit of cobalt blue to it as well, just to go grayer. And yes, these colors, when you have them next to a wash-in that is burnt sienna, you know, or a reddish wash-in, it'll look green. You know, raw umber. It'll tend to look a bit greenish, which is fine. You know, once the whole thing's washed in, it won't have that appearance so much anymore. Now, with, you know, what I'm doing now, there's almost no wash-in showing through. And some painters, they leave a lot of the wash-in showing through right through to the end of the painting, and that can be a beautiful effect. That can really look nice. But that's not what we're doing here. Now, this isn't going to be quite as intense in its redness as sometimes I've done in the past. But I'm still going to exaggerate the redness a little bit. So I keep picking up some debris there. I don't know where that's coming from. And there is sun on this shed, so under the eave, under the overhang, we'll need to have a little bit of shadow. So we'll start at the top here with a bit of cobalt blue, alizarin crimson. I even put a little bit of cad red medium in it. You don't have to. It's just a bit of wash in here, that's all. Okay, now that's fairly dark. I'm going to go a little lighter, but not much. Not much at all, because my strokes of light, I still want them sitting on a dark background. Help them to pop. See that? That's barely lighter than the shadow that I laid in there. This is an awfully straight board that I have sitting there. I may break it off somewhere. Or I may do something else. I don't know. We'll see. I might just remove it. You know. It's very close to looking okay. But let's see here. All right, I think we can work with that. Okay, this has to sit so that I can go over it with some real paint. Talk to you soon, guys.